Thank you so much for having me. Greatest day of my entire life. I love you, bro.
Hey man, Sam, I'm so excited to have you here. By the way, we met on like DMs. Like I think it was 2 years ago. You were doing your movie, your documentary. You invited me. It was a great film. By the way, we'll get into it.
Yeah,
but that's how we met.
That's where we met. Yeah, that's where we finally met in person.
I think maybe you were on YouTube or something. You kind of
I saw you do an interview.
Anyone that pays attention, I'm very happy with. So
I mean, you do great interviews, bro.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate it. It's so great to have you here. There's so much to get into. Your life growing up in Minnesota, all the way to the tour, playing festivals, coming up. Actually, by the time this airs, I think you'll be already doing some of the festivals. So
yeah, I'm in Europe right now, everyone.
You're in Europe as we speak. But take me back to the beginning, man. There's so much to get into. But like I said, growing up on a farm in Minnesota, what was that like?
Growing up on a farm in Minnesota, it's a city called Corcoran, outside the cities. Super isolated, had like no neighbors. And I have an older sister, and so what that did, what I really think that did for me is like created this imaginary world that was so informative to me being younger that I've kind of lived in that space. Like I've always just been able to entertain myself. You know, I think that's what comes when you live on a farm.
Because you had no neighbors.
No neighbors, bro.
Just some cows.
No friends around.
Cows and horses? What'd you have on?
Horses, bro.
Horses. Okay.
Yeah, I was riding horses as a kid.
And your dad and mom, you know, musically, what were they into? I know your dad was a bit of a character. I guess at some point he kidnapped you, which is crazy story. But
my dad was a super character, man. My dad, like, I got every ounce of charisma or whatever you call it that I have is definitely from my dad. And he was, I guess he would definitely be the person that like introduced me to music. He was obsessed with Bob Dylan. He was obsessed with the band. He was obsessed with the Allman Brothers. Those three were like all we listened to all day long. And he partied, bro. My parents were party animals on the farm. That's what they were doing. They
built a plane in your backyard or something?
He built a plane. Like, say that sentence again. Like,
I mean,
this
it sounds
is not
so weird.
This is not.
He
is not a pilot. You know what I'm saying? He like, I don't know where he got it. I have a picture. He literally built a plane in the backyard.
Did it fly? Did it go anywhere?
It got off the ground a little bit. I don't think he crashed it. I don't know. I can't really remember. But that's actually one of my first memories of my dad is him building a plane in our backyard.
Wow.
A legit plane, people. Like, I'm not talking like a little model plane, like an actual plane in our backyard.
The fact that it didn't crash in itself is amazing.
I mean, he crashed everything else. Yeah.
How did he come to kidnap you?
Well, my parents got divorced when I was 6 years old, and he ended up moving to Long Beach, California. But before he left, he was still living in Minnesota, and he like just really, okay, my mom, you're probably gonna be watching this. He was just like, yo, you should be raised by your dad kind of thing. You're a dude, you should be raised by your dad. And he would take me on the weekends sometimes. Like, he was crazy, bro. My dad was absolutely nuts. But such a cool guy. He really was. But he basically took me for a weekend and never brought me back home. And so
all of a sudden there's a police raid.
Another core memory is literally like 3 a.m., like 10 squad cars coming and like ripping me out of bed and putting me in the back of a car with my mom.
Because your mom had gone to the police and said, hey, I can't find my son. Like
she was like, he's not coming back. Like, I'm pretty sure my dad was probably like, nah, like he's living with me now, you know?
So when your life starts off like that, it can only go in one direction.
It was chaos.
Which is chaos.
There was a lot of chaos.
Yeah.
And like, honestly, when you're bringing that up, like, I mean, like, it's crazy. When you do therapy, obviously, they go to like the root of things that made you who you are now, that you just never thought of. You remember them, but you never connected the dots of how like important that was to what that did to a mind that's growing, you know? And I think, even when you're just saying it now, like that's definitely what like just had me addicted to chaos for a long time.
Well, you definitely got addicted to Bob Dylan.
Yes.
Because at a certain point that became, even still to this day, I think you're sort of obsessed with the past,
obsessed.
right?
Yeah. And I think Bob Dylan's the greatest artist of all time. And like, I also think that, I think it's important to look up to the right people. And for me in general, that's an artist that has always been fearless. You know, the story about Like a Rolling Stone should inspire every artist out there, because every artist is overthinking. At some point in their career, they're overthinking. And here, the story with Like a Rolling Stone is like he was painted as the artist, the voice of the generation, with an acoustic guitar singing folk music. He decided to go electric, played Like a Rolling Stone, and was booed, like completely booed for I think it was like a year of him playing that song.
People don't remember that, by the way.
Yeah. And now it's regarded as one of the greatest songs ever written in history. But imagine that. Like, imagine if he folded. You know? Imagine if he was like, all right, they hate that. I'm not going to do that. You know?
That could be said of your career, because perseverance is really all. And in fact, you said something great that I was listening to the other day, something to the effect of talent is only 10% of the equation, and the other 90% is like the hustle, which is something that I kind of always related to that, because it's always been about hustle. Not to say that I don't hopefully have any talent, but it really is about the hustle at the end of the day. And that's a lot about how your career started, right?
Yeah, there's always someone better. I mean, we could walk down Sunset Boulevard right now and find 100 better singers than me.
Yeah.
You know, 100 better musicians than me. It's like, what's behind that? What's the energy behind that? What's the like fearlessness? You know, like what really helped me out is just encouraging myself and pushing myself to just, when that embarrassment kicks in, just remove that, to fight through that, you know, because that's what holds so many people back. I mean, your life could change by a conversation that you have in any single room that you're in, you know, and everyone's had that moment where they're like, especially artists out there. I know a ton of artists watch you, you know what I'm saying? So like artists out there that are like, whenever anyone asks me like, what's your advice for an artist starting out? It's like, do exactly what you're doing right now. Walk up to people that you look up to, go to shows, walk up, do anything you can to get in the room with them, walk up, tell them what you do, look them in the eyes, try to like have your energy affect them in some way that they'll remember you. I love when kids come up to me and be like, oh, you'll be seeing me on stage, or you'll be hearing one of my songs one day. I'm like, that is so many people might be like, oh, that's corny. It's not corny. That is exactly what it takes. You know, that is what I did. I'll never forget, man. So much of my career started, like, this is a great story. So much of my career started because I had these Mod Sun tie-dye hoodies, right? And I would show up to shows in my city in Minnesota, right? And I would find a way to meet the artist, whether I had to show up before they got there, or I stick around, or I know someone that gets me back there, and I put like a half ounce of weed in the pocket of the hoodie. And I walk up and I give them a hoodie, and they'd be like, thanks. And you know, people give you shit all the time, and you're like, okay, like.
But check out the pockets.
I got a lot. I'm like, yo, just check the pocket later. So they check out the pocket, and then they go, oh, I'm wearing this hoodie. And there's Kendrick Lamar's wore a Mod Sun hoodie.
Amazing.
You know, Mac Miller, one of my favorite people in the world, like he helped me so much by wearing a Mod Sun hoodie, you know? And just simple things like that. Like I truly don't know if I would even be sitting in this seat if I didn't do things like that.
That's amazing.
And it wasn't because I was like, check out my demo.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
There's other ways to do this to everyone out there. And
that's a lesson in marketing, by the way.
Absolutely.
Put weed in the pocket of any hoodie you give anyone, and they're going to wear it, for sure.
I'm saying. They'd be like, there's something special. I'm not going to forget that, you know?
Hey, guys. Today's episode of the show is brought to you by the all-new DLZ Creator by Mackie. The DLZ Creator is an adaptive digital mixer designed for podcasting and streaming, and it's what I'm using right now to make this very own podcast. What makes it so special? DLZ's Mix Agent technology takes all the hard parts out of making your podcast. It's amazing. It's easy to use. You have 3 selectable user modes, from easy to enhanced to professional. DLZ allows creators to any experiences to make content of their own terms. With features like Setup Assistant, Audio Mix, Mackie has taken 30 years of audio legacy and packed all their expertise into a podcasting mixer that is not only top of the line, but incredibly easy to use. You can find out more about DLZ Creator at Mackie.com. Check it out, the amazing DLZ Creator. It's funny because early on, I mean, when did like punk pop get into your life? Because all the people that you admired early on are your peer group now, right?
Yeah.
The Travis Barkers of the world, the MGKs, these are your homies. These are the guys that you're the closest to in the world. In fact, I saw that you're like driving around in Travis Barker's car now.
Yes.
Right? And so
that was what I spent my first ever like big check on. So I hit up Travis. I was like, "Yo, bro, like I have a poster of you." My room growing up was covered in posters of Travis Barker,
Amazing.
just completely. And there was like a poster of him in this like Cadillac that I always looked at every day. I was like, "Do you still got this?" And he sold it to me, bro. And like that, every time I get it, like I sit down and that feeling of like just being so like, yes, there's a way to say gratitude and shit like that. But I'm even cool taking it a step further. Like I'm like lucky, like I believe in luck. You know what I'm saying? And like, yeah, be grateful, but also believe in luck. Believe that you can be that one person that like in my city, me growing up, wearing Dickies down to my ankles, spent all my school clothes shopping money on Famous Stars and Straps. You know what I'm saying? Being like, I'm going to be around this person, you know? Like I fully believed in that. Fully believed that.
And
could
the
be that.
manifestation, because obviously you manifested
Yeah.
a lot of stuff to happen.
Yeah.
But so aside from Dylan and Kerouac, where it all began early for you,
I love you so much.
When did you
dog.
get into this power pop stuff and the punk stuff that you got into?
Well, okay, the whole pop punk thing happened when, okay, so I'm gonna explain the origin story. The origin story is really, I have an older sister, Hanson was the biggest band in the world.
Bop, yeah.
Yes, and her and all her friends were obsessed with Hanson. And I was like a super loner kid. Like I think I went to like 5 different schools from elementary to high school, you know, moved around a lot, which like changes your friend group immensely when you're young, all that, right? So like I would look to my older sister who was super cool. She was like the popular girl, captain of the cheerleading team, straight A's, totally opposite of me in every way, right? And I was like, man, she got all these cool friends and they're obsessed with Hanson. And I'm like watching these what at the time it would have been like cassette tapes, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
And I'm like watching them play it to an arena of kids, and I'm seeing this drummer who's like 11 years old. And like it
Was
just
that Shane
clicked.
Hanson? I'm trying to remember.
It was
the drummer.
Zach Hanson.
Zach Hanson.
And
Okay.
it like something in me clicked right there. Like before that, my mom had put me into sports thinking this was a way for you to go meet kids, you know? And I saw Hanson, and when you watch sports, you see adults, right? So I'm a little kid and I'm seeing adults. For the first time ever, I saw young kids taking over the world, playing for adults. I was like, man, get me a drum set for Christmas. So I got a drum set, could not figure out how to play it. Could not at all. Kind of just like, okay, yeah, like this was maybe just like something that looked cool to me and it's not for me. Like 2 or 3 years went by. I always had this drum set in my basement. And then I saw Travis Barker. And that was when everything changed. I saw Travis Barker. I was like, this is the coolest person I've ever seen in my life. Like, the way he plays drums is so different from everyone. And the best thing about drums to everyone out there, and you being a drummer as well, you can vouch for this. Like, it doesn't matter if you're sitting in the front row, if you're literally right next to the guitar player. You can't just look at a guitar player, go like this, and be like, I know what he's doing. You know, it really takes like a different kind of skill set. With drums, you see exactly what they're hitting. Yeah, you kind of got to figure out the kick patterns, but you see what they're doing. If they're going toms, you see them doing that. So I was like, oh, I could maybe like teach myself how to do this by watching Travis Barker. So from there, I immersed myself into everything he did. This was days of 56K dial-up internet. I would download every live performance of them, sit there this far from the computer,
AOL.
watch every AOL, yes, all that, and studied him completely. And then from there, I think that the next thing that I found was Newfound Glory, which then led me into Drive Thru Records. And that was when it was over with. Everyone on I became completely obsessed with the label Drive Thru Records, like the Starting Line, Homegrown, like all these bands that were just creating their own society, you know? Like really, really, it was such an outcast scene. I think it kind of remains there always. You know, you're seeing it now. As soon as like pop punk kind of like breaks a little bit into the mainstream, it's all of a sudden like, oh, no. This is meant to be kind of like our little thing, you know? And I just fell in love with it, bro. That's how I found all my friends. That's how I found going to shows and being the kid that showed up 2 hours before the band even got there and living that whole counterculture, you know? And then that got me into like super into skateboarding and all that. And I just quit sports completely, like became the one kid in my city that was like going after music, being in a punk band, being in a pop punk band, which led me into screamo and post-hardcore and all that, you know?
Well, that coupled with the past, too, because you're a little bit obsessed with the past,
Yeah.
right? The 27 Club.
Yeah.
So those artists was sort of this combination of music that really got you going. It's interesting, like all those artists, I think you even collect like Dylan artifacts and things like that now too, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Would you say you're obsessed with the past a little bit?
100%.
Yeah.
Like, not in like a, I don't think of like a dangerous way of like where like nostalgia can be like very dangerous when you're trying to like chase old feelings and stuff like that. I'm more obsessed with having things that other people like held on to physically, you know?
Yeah.
Like I really am so, like my life goal is to leave everything I can behind, you know? So like I want that for my life. I write books, I make paintings, I sell that kind of stuff. I want people to feel that way about what I do, where it's like one day he'll be gone and I'll have this, you know?
It's interesting, like, so being born on a farm and having all these influences, you have no people around you.
Yeah.
You're growing up, you start playing drums. How do you get from that point to the point where we're at now?
Well, so I always was obsessed with words, you know? Like words always really did something to me. Like in art class, the teacher would say paint something, and instead of painting like a picture, I would paint a word, you know? That was just always something deep with me with what you can do with words. And so I always was trying to inch to the front of the stage, you know, and not just be speaking with my hands and my feet. Everyone around me, though, at that time told me I couldn't sing. Every single person was like, bro, yeah. I'd be like, yo, like, am I hitting the note? They're like, you're not even hitting a note. Right. You know what I'm saying? And like,
it's a gang vocal. That's all it is.
That's what I should have told him. That's the art of it. No, like, that can really deter you from your dreams.
Yeah.
When the people around you are telling you can't do something.
Although I feel like with you, it sort of drove you and pushed you further.
Well, it did. Right? Because you know what I told him? I was like, all right, you tell me I can't sing. Like, I got rhythm. I can play drums. So, like, I want to say these words. All right, I'm going to rap. You know, I'm going to start rapping then. And that's when I completely shut off the world. Another advice to artists is, like, shut off the world and create. Don't get that, oh, it's Friday night, should I be out? Like, no, lock yourself in a room and create. And, like, I started producing all my homies. I didn't know any producers. I didn't know how any of this worked, you know? I got a computer, I downloaded Reason, started making beats, and got, like, a, I don't know, $80 microphone and all the setup. Just went on YouTube, figured out how to work everything.
Was there like a scene in Minnesota growing up musically? Was there clubs around there?
Yeah.
A lot of clubs to play at?
Absolutely.
In between all the farms?
Yeah, there was.
There was
Minnesota's like, obviously Bob Dylan's from Minnesota, Prince from Minnesota, like we got them.
But you grew up a little, you weren't right in the heart of town, obviously. You were in.
No, I wasn't. I was never living in the city. I went from the farms to then my mom moved us to the suburbs, which was like right outside the city. But there was a great scene for like the scene kind of music. Like we had Motion City Soundtrack really starting to do stuff, you know, and I saw them play for like 20 people at the Fireball Cafe in Minnesota. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so like watching that, there's a scene for that. And then on the other side, there's a scene for like real backpack rap, right? Which was Atmosphere, all the Rhyme Sayers groups, you know what I'm saying? Which they hated me, right? I come out, I'm like, this is hippie hop, like this is positive rap music. And they hated me, bro. Like I would go, I was getting...
Because around that time it was what, Swayze? Who were the artists that were doing that kind of early?
Swayze was a big influence on me when I started rapping. And just the scene in Minneapolis they were not taken to me at all, you know? So then that turned me into, all right, I'm not a local artist, you know? That just put that drive into me. I'm not a local artist. I'm gonna go out there. I'm gonna use my connections that I've gained through. You know, I guess I kind of skipped something a little bit. Like I was in this band called The Semester, which is like a pop punk band. We started doing stuff in the scene. Then I joined this band called 4 Letter Lie. I was playing drums for this band called 4 Letter Lie, which is like post-hardcore, screamo, breakdowns. And
for literally like 8 years you were in these bands, right?
Yeah. I mean, from 4 Letter Lie, I guess was like probably like 3.5 years before that. The Semester, that was like all through high school. And while on tour with bands, like when I was in 4 Letter Lie, like we would go on tour. This was days of you're getting $10 per diems and that's it. You know what I'm saying? You're literally just out there to play music. Like, and do what you always want to do, which is travel the world with your friends, right?
People think touring is glamorous, and then they hear this. They're like, maybe $10 per diems is not
People
that glamorous.
think, you know what?
At that level,
it's a
not
lot more.
glamorous.
I feel like it's so much more glamorous now
Well,
than
of
it
course,
was
for you, yes. But
15 years ago, whatever.
Yeah.
Like it was that the buy a van for $1,000 and see how far it can get you, you know? And while I was in Four Letter Lie, though, I was going around and I was like the mouthpiece for that band. Like I go around and do all the talking. I walk in a room, yo, what's up, like this and that.
As the
friends.
drummer.
Yeah, make friends with all the people that we're on tour with, you know? That gave me like a lot of people that really wanted to help me when I started doing Mod Sun stuff. So like Scary Kids, perfect example. I met them while I was on tour with Four Letter Lie. Became best friends with them. When I left Four Letter Lie and went into Mod Sun, I had like just watched the movie Yes Man. And Scary Kids pulled into town on Warped Tour in Minnesota. And I was like, I'm going to say yes to everything for a month. And the singer, Tyson, rest in peace, wouldn't be here without him. He was like, yo, what are you doing now? Like, you're not in Four Letter Lie? Like, do you got a job? I'm like, no, I'm just like selling weed low key. He's like, all right, you want to come on the rest of Warped Tour with us and just like hang out? And low key, like I didn't really want to.
Kind of roadie like, for them too, right? In a way.
Yeah,
yeah,
100%. Yeah. I like really kind of didn't want to. Someone just fronted me like an ounce of weed. Like back then, bro, this was not like, I was broke, right? When someone fronts you an ounce of weed, like this is like 2006, 7. Like that's a big deal.
Yeah.
And I had to say yes. I got on Warped Tour, and then that turned into me performing Mod Sun songs at their meet and greet at the Kia tent, which then led me to Kevin Lyman, which then led me to Mod Sun playing Warped Tour, you know, which then led me to Scary Kids being like, come play drums for us. And I'm like, I'll only play drums for you if you can let me open as Mod Sun, you know?
Because after playing drums for 8 years, at that point, was your family like, listen, Ma, I don't know if they called you Derek back then, Ma, but listen, this isn't working out? Or did they say, you know what, keep it up because you got to follow your dreams at this point?
Honestly, they never, like my mom, my sister never shit on my dreams. They were always, for some reason, believing that I was going to make something happen, you know? Or they were just like, you're happy, you know? I don't even really know. I've never really asked them, but they were never, I never had like the parental unit that was like, yo, you need to go to school. You need to do this, you know? It was like, all right, just like, I guess like you fully, like I fully believed it, you know?
Even on $10 a day, living on
100%.
sound weed, whatever it took.
Fully believed it, man, you know?
So the turning point was really maybe meeting Kevin and the Warped Tour for you, I guess.
That was it. That was a huge turning point because then it was like people were starting to obviously like take you more seriously. I mean, this was like the heyday of Warped Tour, you know? People really started to take me more seriously. Also being like someone who's rapping on Warped Tour, like stood out really hard.
Yeah.
Was my brand of music. I called it hippie hop. It was all positive rap, you know? Like I had my own thing, you know? And it kind of became just undeniable that I was finding people. I was finding my crowd, right? I was going out there and finding them. You know, there was no built-in crowd for this. I was going out there and finding them and winning people over.
What were those early Warped Tour shows like for you? Do you remember some of those shows?
Yeah, I remember all of them. And they were amazing, man.
Yeah.
It was my dream come true. My first show I ever attended was Warped Tour 2000.
Who was headlining those shows?
Blink 182 was headlining when they had the big fuck sign on flames, man. Like on fire. Like, bro, it was Blink, Newfound Glory, Alien Ant Farm, Alkaline Trio. Oh, Alkaline Trio. Oh, my God. It was amazing. And so like that was my dream. I mean, that I remember at being at Warped Tour for the first time, standing front row and being like, I'm going to be there. That is my message to all the people that come to my shows. I always say it. That's why I don't be like, these are my fans. I don't call them fans because I'm literally always just like, yo, I have to make this clear. Like I was standing front row. Like I was singing everywhere.
You were that kid.
I was that kid.
Yeah.
And when I looked at the stage, I was never like, I'm a fan because I'm not going to do that. You know, I can't. So like, I just take it to the place where I'm like, you can do exactly what I'm doing because I made it happen. You know, that's my whole MO to like why I have people that believe in me, you know?
Yeah. How'd you get your first deal then to meet Feldy? And we'll talk about Big Noise. How'd that all happen for you?
Well, so the first deal I ever signed was with Rostrum Records. That was who like Mac was on, Wiz was on. And like I was obviously huge fans of them. It worked out that I met people that worked at Rostrum. Then through the connection that I had with Mac Miller, they were just like, love this, let's go, let's do a deal. Dropped 3 albums with them. And then I was independent for like a solid like 2 years, and I started writing for people, you know. I worked on Bloody Valentine by Machine Gun Kelly as a writer. And
had you known him at all first?
Yeah, I met Kels on Warped Tour.
You did, okay.
You know what I'm saying? Like at this point, me and Kels have been best friends for almost 10 years, maybe a little more.
Where'd you first meet him? How did that? I mean, you met on Warped Tour, but we were just backstage. And
yeah,
you guys
literally like the same way I did everything, man.
Just went up to him. You're like,
Kels
here's a hoodie with some weed. And
he's like, walks up to me. He's like, hey man, you know where to get any weed? I was like, you're talking to the right dude.
Here's a hoodie.
Yeah. I'm like, what size hoodie do you wear?
Yeah.
And we just became best friends in that moment. You know what I'm saying? Hung out every day on Warped Tour. And then after that, it was like he really believed in my creative vision. You know, because I was always like, I make my own videos. I write books. You know, I had a book out. Like that hit Kels. It really hit Kels. He read my book.
6 books out.
I have 6 books out now. My first book, Did I Ever Wake Up? Like that really hit him. You know, he was like, this is like, there's strong messages in this book. And like, he just believed in my creativity, you know? So then after Warped Tour, we started working on stuff. And then like what really pushed it over the edge is I directed a video for him called Sail. That was like one of the first videos I directed. It's got like 200 million views on it. You know what I'm saying? Like we shot this for free at my old house in North Hollywood, you know, in like a 1-take scenario because I didn't know how to edit. So I'm like, how do you shoot a video without really knowing how to edit? You shoot it in 1 take and then it's done. By the time you're done shooting, it's done, you know? And so that like really created this crazy bond of us working together creatively, you know, not just being friends, but like including each other in the vision. And to this day, he's like the person I play my music to first, you know what I'm saying, and get his opinion.
So do you ever play music for him and he's like, you know what, Ahmad, I don't think that's the right direction? Or
all
the time?
The time.
He's like your A&R
all
guy.
the way up until 24 hours ago. Straight up. I'm not kidding. We could get into all that, like what's going on right now at some point.
Like, because you just played him something and he's like,
well, I'm like stacking records right now, right? And like I'll play him the one. He's just like, yo, just take my advice on this run. You know, I always give you advice. Like, just listen.
Is he usually right?
Many times,
many
yeah,
times.
Many times. You know, but the whole thing is that like I always think I'm right.
Right.
So he's just like, you know, with that time that it didn't work out. You know what I'm saying? Like, listen to me now. He's like he's in a lot of ways like my closest person to me in my entire life. You know what I'm saying?
I was watching your doc the other day with the drummer Rook was in it.
Yeah.
Early on those Minnesota days. Is he from Minnesota?
No, he's from Ohio.
He was just there back in the day. He was one of the guys you met early on.
Yeah, Rook been around for a long time. That's who I'm doing a lot of new music with right now. Is Rook. But back to it. So I worked on Bloody Valentine with Kels. That got me into like the writer's world, which I was always kind of writing and producing for artists, but like never had like this went #1, like this went platinum. You know what I'm saying? So that got me moving into the writer world. I've always known T Mills, Travis Mills. I know him as T Mills because I know him from back in Warped Tour days. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And he started a band called Girlfriends. He was like, yo, I'm working with John Feldman. And now here's a crazy thing. Like when I was in 9th grade, I remember sitting on the 6th stairs, like skateboarding. Like that Used album had just dropped. I remember watching the documentary of the Used recording and John Feldman's like throwing a trash can at Bert to get him to scream, right? I was like, oh my God, this is like the greatest producer of all time. And like then when 4 Letter Lie signed to Victory Records, they're like, make a list of people you want to record with. I was like, John Feldman at the top. They're like, we can't afford John Feldman. You know what I'm saying? So I had always wanted to work with him. And Girlfriends were like, yeah, we're working with John Feldman. You want to come do a writing sesh with us? I was like, oh my God, like this is my chance to work with Feldman. Hell yeah. So like I get there and we start like writing and like playing with guitar or whatever like that. And what we're doing like isn't really like going anywhere. So we like walk outside, I take a smoke break. Like Feldy just runs out the door and he's like, yo, Mod, just get behind the mic right now. And so he pulled up a track that I hadn't even heard yet, you know, not what we were working on, something that they had already like worked on. He just hit record and I just did what I do, which is just like go in there and like, I come from the world of rap. So like freestyle is a thing. Like I spent years just riding around with my homie in his car, smoking and freestyling, you know? So like, well, it might not be like the most like intelligent statement of all time, but I could string words together, you know? And I just started going and Feldy loved it. It ended up being on the record that is just as it was that I freestyled. He's like, yo, I gotta work with this dude. Like I have to work with him. I know we could create something amazing. So then he booked a session with me. That first session that we had together, we made my song Karma and Bones on the same day within a matter of like 5 hours.
Became one of your biggest hits.
Biggest of all time, you know?
What's
And-
amazing, people forget, you were like playing covers of all these bands back in the day.
Yeah.
So your early bands were doing like Blink covers.
The whole
I don't know if you
set.
did like Goldfinger covers, but
Yeah,
Alkaline
bro,
Trio covers, right?
definitely.
That's what you were doing early on.
Yes, the whole set.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I'm saying? So like I had always wanted to work with Feldy, and like we just had this like camaraderie of like, all right, it was so right place, right time too. You know what I'm saying? Because like I had already begun my endeavor into like finding my voice and singing. But like I am a pop punk kid, and like and then it just helped even more that Feldy was like, all right, we need drums on this. I'm like, oh, I'm a drummer. I haven't played in a while, but like I can play drums. I got behind the kid. He's like, what the fuck, bro? You know, and like it all came full circle, which is what I always wanted to do, you know, was like bring in my past into my future. I'm always trying to marry the two, you know, I'm always trying to marry who I am now with like the essence of who I've always been.
Yeah, being a drummer too, I really connected with you when you invited me to your documentary, and I got to see you playing drums in the first 15 minutes of the movie.
Yeah.
It's like, man, this fucking kid's a great drummer, you know?
Yeah.
And I play drums, so that really connected with me. But you're working with some of the Godfathers. I feel like you're really part of what's happening with this crazy resurgence in punk pop. Obviously, we were just talking about it with my buddy Marvin that you saw a minute ago. I mean, Blink-182 is playing stadiums, or they're doing 3 nights at the arena right now. Do you feel like you're part of this resurgence of what's going on in this punk pop revival?
Yeah, I do feel like I'm part of it. You know, I definitely feel like, you know, I got so much love for the bands who kept doing exactly what they're doing, even when it wasn't at like this point of resurgence again. Like bands like Newfound Glory, like they never stopped. You know, they kept putting out records, they kept doing it. But when everything changed, like I can't even really put my finger on why it all like came through. Maybe it's like the feeling of like live instruments again, and all the programmed drums just kind of started getting monotonous, that it felt really good to hear real drums again. But yeah, I feel like I'm definitely a part of it.
I think Adam's song was the first song that you really connected with Travis Barker on. You went to play it in front of him, right?
Yeah.
So talk to me about
Yeah,
your
I did.
relationship with Travis and how that all came about, because now you're super connected to all these guys.
Yeah, well, so this was like 2014. So on my debut album is called Look Up. I have a song called Never Quit. It features Travis Barker. That was in 2015. So in 2014, I finally met him. Travis, like I had always, obviously, he was my hero. He's always been my hero. I had gotten in touch with him on like Instagram or something, and I was like, "Yo,
Sent
I'm
him a
coming out
DM
to
or something?
Yeah. I was like, "Yo, I'm coming out to California. Love to, like, I got a song I'd love to have you play on." Never thinking he'd say yes. He's like, "Of course, bro. Like, come stop by when you're out here." Maybe I don't even think I was actually gonna be in California. I think I just said that and then planned a whole trip around it. I literally tried to take a train back from here to Minnesota. It was ridiculous.
So you had no real plans to be here.
No,
but you just told him you were
I told
here.
him, I was like, "Yo, I'm gonna be in LA. Like, can I stop by?" So
I'll
like,
be outside your door at 8 a.m.
Yeah, legit. And dude, I walked in the studio and I just, you know, walked in with crazy energy, how I am, and looking crazy, and just being like, "Bro, like, I know everything about you." And this was at the point. This wasn't like how Travis is moving now, you know. Travis is really like producing, working with a lot of artists. This was like the only like time you saw like Travis Barker feature on someone's song was like P. Diddy, you know what I'm saying? And like The Game, you know, and Wayne and Rick Ross and like that world, right? Because he's always been so cool, like connect with everyone. But it wasn't really like a Travis Barker feature time. And like I just walked in and was just like, "Bro, I want you on my debut album because like you made me who I am and he's my inspiration, you know?" And he loved the song, and I just remember him taking me around the studio and seeing the drum sets that I grew up looking at, you know, and I'd be like, "Oh my God, that's the Adam song kit right there, bro." Like, that's crazy to be like, bro, I literally like, oh, it's fucking nuts. I always just wanted to be there, bro, just be as close as I could. Like, I remember just standing in front of the kid like, "Bro, you gotta like take this in. Like, it's such a big deal to me, you know? Like, that is really dreams come true." And I was like, "Yo, I gotta tell you this story, bro." I was like, when I was younger, I went to play. My first time I ever played live was at like the talent show in like 7th grade or something. Me and my friend played Adam's Song. There's this really good drummer in town, and he was like, "All right, you guys are playing Adam's Song. Like, I'll teach you how to play it, man. Like, I'll teach you how to play it." And I like sat down behind his drums. He's like, "All right, show me what you're doing." And I'm like playing the most like basic, horrible way of playing it. He's like, "Man, you might as well cancel the gig tomorrow, bro, because you can't play for shit." And I was
Especially
like,
Travis Barker drum. Right?
I was like, oh my God. I mean, I picked Adam's Song, which is pretty complex. Like that time.
Right.
So anyways, totally shit on me. And instead of shying off and being like, I can't do it, I was like, fuck it, I'm going to go do it anyway. Went up there, got through it. That was my first time ever playing. Played it horribly. It's on tape. I'll post it someday. But I was like, Travis, yo, my friend told me like, he told me I fucking sucked at drums when I tried to play this. I was like, can I play Adam's Song real quick? He's like, of course. I like sat down. He's like, you just played it perfect, bro. And I was like, in my mind, I was like, yeah, fuck you to that kid, bro. Like, who would have thought one day Travis is going to be like, you killed it. You know, again, that's my message to people. It's like that in this world, those things are possible. You know, if you allow them to be possible, those things are possible.
And also talk a little bit, Mon, about manifesting some of this, because I feel like a lot of these things in life for you did manifest, right? Maybe the
Everything.
MGK thing, maybe the Travis Barker thing. Even where you are now, you're playing festivals. That's always something I feel like you wanted to manifest, right?
Absolutely everything, man. Absolutely everything that has brought me here, like completely in every way. All the way, like I just said about John Feldman. I mean, that linking up, it took 20-some years for it to happen, but I never gave up on it. You know, there is no timeline on those dreams that you hold, but I've always just known, like, you hold it in your head and you can hold it in your hand, and that's the only way it works. And like, I truly believe that if you don't actually visualize it, if you don't actually see it, if you don't pull the whole like, I want this is my dream car, all right, I'm gonna go test drive it, I'm gonna get behind the wheel so I can know what it's like, I'm gonna see myself behind it, and that's how I'm gonna get it. Like, that is just how I believe all this thing works. I believe that's how this world works, especially if you tap into that. You know, like, there is a bridge of people who will just always be pessimistic about the world, or just believe that we're in a fucked up world, you know? Like, I say movie because I really believe that, like, I'm writing my movie. There's a reason I'm here, and it might be selfish, but I believe I'm the main character of this movie. I really believe that. And I really believe that there's something watching me that's like, I want to see these things happen for you, you know? There's a witness. There's someone witnessing this. Whether it's the universe, God. I've gotten way religious since I gotten sober. So, like, I kind of transferred that to, like, a God energy rather than just, like, I'm talking to the universe.
Yeah, talk to me about that. How long you been sober, by the way?
I just hit 4 years.
4 years.
Just hit 4 years, bro.
And being present now, I'm sure playing a gig is a whole different experience for you, right?
Yeah.
You probably don't even remember half those gigs before.
That's 100% true.
Yeah.
I definitely don't. Like, I remember getting on stage and that's it. That's all. It's like playing the gig. And that was, I mean, my idols were like Jim Morrison. You
Kurt
know what I'm
Cobain
saying? Yeah. Where it was like, be crazy, be insane. And like, I probably wouldn't be here if I didn't have those years as well, you know?
But then people forget they all died at 27.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And like, that's not the way I want to go out. I mean, I'll never forget, like, when I was a huge drug addict, like just a straight up drug addict, you know what I'm saying? Just feeling shame. Every time I did a line of coke, bro, just feeling shame, you know? And that's like my message to the sobriety thing is really like, I'm not a preacher of like everyone should be sober at all. Like, I'm a preacher of like, if you feel shame when you're doing it, that's gonna fuck up your life. Carrying shame around is gonna fuck up your life.
Yeah.
You know, as soon as I removed the shame, like, I'm not sure if it was removing the drugs or removing the shame, you know, but whatever happened, I like to believe that it was the shame. My life changed completely.
Did the 12 steps resonate with you?
Yeah, I haven't finished them. I haven't gone through the 12 steps. That's like the next thing that I really like would like to do, because it's so powerful. Really is powerful, especially just like the coming to terms with people that you've wronged in your life and that you've held on to, and it's
Then you got to call them. Do you call people like that?
Yeah,
and say,
you're
hey,
supposed.
man,
It's part of
do you
it.
do that?
Like,
Do you do that?
There's the catharticness about being like, I'm sorry. It's so simple too.
Yeah.
It's like, and a lot of times people are like, man, I don't even remember that happening, you know?
Yeah. Well, they were fucked up too. Maybe.
Yeah,
They don't
yeah.
remember
But
what's
you're
going on.
like, wow, like that just changed everything for me. So yeah, I'm definitely focused on getting that done.
But it's fascinating. You always say a lot of times you feel like you want to create as if you're dead.
Yeah.
And a lot of times, like you said, you hashtag movie
Yeah.
on a lot of your social media posts. So talk to me about that kind of concept, because you feel like you're creating music and creating art for everything. And some of the greatest artists, like we spoke about, like Dylan and people like that, music is so timeless. And you know, that's the true test when you go back and you listen to music 30 years later. If it still sounds relevant, then it's incredible. If it sounds dated, then it never stood the test of time. So talk to me about creating as if you're dead and what that really means to you.
Creating as if I'm dead is the ideology of just being like, I would love for what I'm doing to be celebrated right now. Would love that. I would gladly accept that. That would be great. But I went a long time with believing that what I was doing was important. And if it's not resonating right now, at some point, I will be remembered for doing something special, you know? And just wanting to leave as much behind as I can and feeling important, you know? It sounds fucked up to be like, man, I'm important. And you don't got to go around telling the world that, you know? But hold that in your head. Really believe that you're special. Really believe that what you're doing is important. Is like, I believe in changing the world. I believe in changing one person's world. You know, I'm perfectly fine with not being, I would take it. I'd gladly accept being the biggest artist in the world. But I'm self-aware. I know that's not the case. But I'm someone's favorite artist, you know? And I'm going to leave as much as I can behind for those people, you know? But just knowing that just because you are not where you want to be right now, or you don't have this huge fan base or whatever you want to call it, that doesn't mean what you're doing is not important.
And by the way, the output you're doing is incredible. We were talking about your documentary, Remember Me Just Like This, but 6 books, you're working on a TV show, think a clothing line with Kel's coming out. You're doing a tour coming up in June. You know, new music coming out, and we'll talk about your last record too, but your output is incredible. So do you ever stop? You ever take a day to yourself and like just chill? Or you're always working and creating something?
It's kind of like whenever I do have those days, I mean, I think it's important to take a day or two to yourself to kind of do that and reset. But it just doesn't resonate with me. Like, I like art. I like to create. I like to do something each day, you know? And whether it be just like a painting, a sketch, talking about what you want to do and stuff like that. Like, I feel like I'm missing out on something when I'm not doing that, you know? Like that's really I don't have that, like, I should be out right now partying. Like, I've kind of trained myself to be like, no, like there's a goal for you. There's something special for you to do right now, you know?
Well, this past year was a big year. So we were just talking about God Save the Teen, the latest record. I think you had this concept where it was like no singles. So as opposed to like, people are like, I don't have 7 singles on this record. I'm going to have no singles on this record. So talk to me about that and the idea behind the record. Because obviously the one before that, Internet Killed the Rockstar, was one of your biggest albums.
Yeah, I guess it's probably the way I grew up loving albums, you know?
You played it in its entirety.
Yeah, and going to the record store on Tuesday, you know, skipping school, going to the record store on Tuesday, listening to the entire album, and having that, like, immersive experience of that. Obviously, like, times change, and you have to change with those times. And we're in a world of singles, and I always just like trying to do, I don't know if it's self-righteous, but I like trying to do what other people aren't doing. You know, when you look at music, the first thing you see right now, the first thing you think right now is like, we're in a singles world, you know? People will listen to one song, will they listen to the whole album, you know? And so I just wanted to take a different outlet on this one. And for the people who did listen to it, now it's like every song on the album is a single, you know? So when I go play it live, it's not like, oh, here's the standout track that everyone knows. It's kind of like, they know all the material. So I don't know how well it worked. You know what I'm saying? I don't know if it was like the best idea to do or if it was genius or horrible. You know what I'm saying? But that's what I go with instinct, man. I think like you should stay as close to instinct as possible. So when that came to me and people like Feldman were on board with it, just being like, yeah, like that's like rebellious. You know, it's like rebelling against something. I just felt like it was the right thing to do. and to show, I in a lot of ways, I'd like to be an artist, It's other artists that are like, yeah, thanks for fighting for us type of shit, And I felt like that was a move because I feel like so many artists are so caught up in their success is just based on the numbers of the song that they just put out.
I mean, I'm a huge fan of vinyl, so I love putting that record on, letting it play the whole way through. But you're right. People now just release singles. I think Cardi just kind of released a couple of singles before she even had a full-length record out. She was already a huge artist. So these days, there's no rhyme or reason to how it happens.
Well, then it's like also you listen to the album when you've heard 4 songs from it.
Right. It's like I've already heard half of it.
It's like those are great songs, but for some reason I'm skipping them,
Do you feel the pressure sometimes to live up to the last record and how that performed and the streaming and you feel that?
Yeah, dude. I have. Yeah. I have definitely. I've felt like that, but it's when I have like other people attached to what I'm doing. Working with a company, working with this and that. Then I just feel like an extra pressure to do well for them. And I'm kind of just trying to escape that right now. I've had a long career. I really have. I'm super lucky to still be doing this to the point that I think like the pressure that you put on each song is like trying to have a kid, and when you have this kid and you're going to yourself, you're like, if my kid's not rich and successful and famous, then my kid's a fail. Like, you can't bring something into the world with those expectations on it. The pure of heart, like, I feel like always sometimes wins, And so going into this next round of things, I'm just really like, I'm letting all control go. You can't control it. What you can do is put good energy out with it and keep it pure. Not be like, this song has to blow up or I'm a failure. You can't, like, I look at a song like a living entity.
Organism, yeah.
If you put that pressure on it, you're just fucking its life up.
Although I feel like a label like Big Noise, because there's artists that are there, right?
Yeah.
Feldy was Goldfinger. I think one of the other guys, Nick Gross?
Nick Gross, yeah.
Nick Gross, he's a musician, right?
Yeah.
So they're artists that are running that label. So I'm imagining the pressure is less when you're dealing with artists that are running a label.
Yeah.
And some of your friends, too, that you...
I mean, it is.
Those are your homies, too, in a way, right?
Yeah, it is. I mean, with Feldman, for sure, like, he's like, yo, like, I mean, he's a producer that works every day. He's making music every day, and he's not sitting there like, I gotta make the biggest hit in the world. He always says this one thing. He's like, what am I supposed to bring John Lennon back from the dead right now or something? Like, we're just making music. Yeah. If it works, it works. Like, but just keep making it, So it does take the pressure off. But again, it's just like me. Not when I'm independent, I'm like, I believe fully in like 100% responsible 100% of the time, right? So if you do something wrong or if something goes wrong, like, you take it upon yourself to be like, I fucked that up, So, I just want everyone to get what they deserve,
Yeah. Well, there's so much going on for you this year. As I said, festivals, something you've been manifesting for years here. So June, when this podcast drops, Mod, there's a whole slew of festivals. You're hitting everywhere in Europe, right?
Yeah.
Talk to me about what's coming up for you.
So I'm about to go do like the what I've always dreamed about is the summer Europe festival run, And I'm going to a bunch of different places. Going to be out there for, I think, 3 weeks. And I've always felt like I'd be a great festival artist because I do so many different, like, I kind of blend genres. And I've played a million fucking shows, So super excited. Gonna be all around Europe.
Any festival that you're really excited about in particular?
Yeah, like the Rock'em Ring and Rock'em Park ones. And then like Download Fest in the UK.
Massive.
I know.
Massive.
I keep trying to visualize what it's gonna be like on
Metallica,
stage.
who's playing that one this year?
Yeah, it's like Metallica. I don't even know everyone on it, but yeah, it's a crazy lineup.
Amazing. And your 50 other projects. You got your clothing line.
Yeah,
MGK,
No Safety.
That's coming out.
Yeah, No Safety. We're working on it every single day right now. We're actually really working on it right now to do something special with it.
More music with Black Bear maybe coming up.
I would love that. That's my brother. We just spoke. Yeah, that's one of my best friends too. Known him for over a decade.
Love him.
Yeah.
Good dude. Well, we always do this really fun thing at the end of the show where we do our top 5 lists.
Yeah.
So we're going to get into a couple things that are really fun here. So according to Mod Sun, who are the 5 bands that you predict will break big in 2024?
Okay. Number one, Gene Dawson. Number two, Beauty School Dropout.
Who we just had on the show. Love
Did
those
you?
kids.
I
Yeah.
love them.
They're on tour with Blink.
They're gonna have a moment for sure.
We love that.
Number three, 44 Phantom. What am I on, 4?
Number 4, yeah.
Number 4 is Kid Ecstasy. You know Ecstasy?
No, I don't know him actually.
EKKSTACY. Super good. Like,
to check
kind
him
of
out.
reminds me of like a now version of the Smiths in a way. Kind of.
Awesome.
So sick.
I'm Googling all this.
Yeah. Google them. Google them.
And number 5.
And then number 5, one of my friends from Minnesota who just came on tour with me. His name's Party Alone.
Who I heard you say is going to be the biggest artist.
I truly
in the
believe
world
in
by
like
next year.
one year he's gonna have a big moment. Yeah.
You heard it here first.
Yeah.
All right, another great question. Madsan, name the 5 best songs that you wish you wrote. Starting with number 5.
Starting with number 5, Brian Jonestown Massacre, Ballad of Jim Jones.
Great documentary, by the way.
Oh my God, Dig?
Yeah, great documentary.
Bro, one of the craziest documentaries in music history.
Oh my God. I rewatch it sometimes.
I'm
just
gonna
to-
rewatch it.
yeah.
I'm gonna rewatch it. Yo,
So
it's
for those
so
of you who
crazy.
haven't seen that documentary, go check out Dig.
Yo, check out Dig. It's really actually one of the craziest stories in musical history. Have you seen Searching for Sugar Man?
Yeah, another great doc. I love
Another
documentaries.
insane
Amazing.
music
One of the best.
story.
One of the
Yeah.
best. Number 4, best songs you wish you wrote.
Number 4, Sympathy by the Goo Goo Dolls. Amazing song.
You covered Iris. On the
Covered
last record.
Iris.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sympathy might be next.
Number 3.
Number 3, Dry Your Eyes by the Streets. Do you like the Streets?
Great band.
Yeah.
Great artist, Mike Skinner. Number 2.
Number 2, Things by Mazzy Star.
Another great artist.
Another great artist.
And number 1, the best song that you wish you wrote.
Number
Madsan.
1, Shelter from the Storm by Bob Dylan.
Amazing. It all goes back to Bob Dylan.
I mean, do you know that? Are you familiar with that song?
I'm not familiar with that song in particular, but obviously I'm very familiar with Dylan.
Like
so-
every song by Bob Dylan, I wish
Yeah.
I would have written.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a whole nother podcast.
Yeah,
The
yeah,
Madsan
yeah.
Dylan podcast.
Yeah.
And last but not least, name 5 artists that should be bigger than they are. Number 5.
Number 5, Bobby Raps. One of my favorite artists in the entire world. Another Minnesota kid working on a lot of new music with them. Number 4, DC the Don. Number 3, Lil Tracy. Number 2, this is hard to go two in one. Number 2, we'll say Dej Loaf.
And number 1, the artists that should be bigger than they are, Madsan.
I hope you know who this artist is.
Let's see. Let's
Number
see. It's a test for
1,
me too.
Number 1, Corbin.
You know what? I don't, but I'm getting into all this after this.
Bro, one of the best voices in music, super young kid, also from Minnesota. One of the most talented artists that we got around.
I think people love to discover music, so this is a great way for people to discover artists. So thank you. So check out Madsan, madsan.com.
Yeah.
New record coming soon.
Yeah, a bunch of new songs that I've been working on. We'll see where it lands, but I'm gonna keep working throughout the summer, and I'm about to. I think by the time this is out, we'll probably release a new song.
Amazing. France, London, Italy, Germany,
Yeah.
Czech Republic. Get ready for Madsan.
Yeah, man, Scott, you coming with or what?
I'll roll through
Man,
one
come
of them.
play drums for me, bro.
Shit, bro. You don't tempt me because
Yeah.
I will.
All right.
Love to have you here, bro. It's great.
Thank
Great
you for
fun.
having me, bro.
And
Love
we'll do
this.
part 2 soon.
Yeah, let's get it. Love y'all.
Awesome.